I would like to call your attention today to three different scriptures in the Bible. Our first scripture, St. John, the 8th chapter, and the 32nd verse. St. John, the 14th chapter, the 6th verse, and Hebrews, the 13th chapter, and the 8th verse. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. Our message today is the real thing. It's the real thing. Would you repeat that after me? It's the real thing. All right. I've traveled many places and I've come into contact with many different issues. And I have found that many people are searching for realness. Well, many times we cannot help but to believe that we are living in a phony society. It is so difficult to find things that are real. Thousands of people are being misled every day. We are living in a phony age. And the world is just seeking something that they can depend on. Because everybody comes by pretends to have the real thing. And the world wants something that will hold out. The world wants something that is real. Yes, sir. Politically, we have said that we have the real thing. In the political world, the candidates, every candidate is saying that he has the real thing. He is telling us that he has the solution for world peace. But we still find that we are in the midst of confusion. Everybody that's running for a political office seems to think that he has what it takes to bring men together all over the world. He seems to think that he has the answer to all of the problems that may be involved in this political age. But we find that we still have problems in our cities. In some of our major cities, there are problems, and the problems are growing every day. And not only that, but socially, we have said that we have the real thing. In the social world, the modern age has changed everything. There was a time when the only social activities we could find were in the home. Our homes were very common in the olden days. They had no glass windows, but shutters. We had dirt floors, which we used to stand on instead of hardwood. The living room and the kitchen were the same. We had no electric or gas ranges. The skillet and lid were used to bake our yams on. And we always would throw a few hot ashes around. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. We use lamps for light. Is that right? But this young age says she has a better thing. We have better homes now. We're living in a push-button age. In the foggy days, there were rules that we had to observe. boys had to leave the girls by 9 o'clock.
Yes, sir. I know what you're talking about.
But now they don't have to leave by 9. Matter of fact, they can stay all night if they want to. Or they can go someplace else to spend the night. Today, we are not pleased with anything socially. If we don't like the way we look, this phony society has fixed it where we can get most anything we want falsely. Isn't that right? If a person is not pleased with his outlook or the way he looks, this phony society has so fixed it that he can get whatever else it takes to fix him up. For example, if we're not pleased with the hair that the Lord has given us, we can always purchase false hair. Excuse me now. And then, if we're not pleased with the precious fingernails that God gave us, we can always buy false fingernails. We're not pleased with the eyelids and the eyelashes that God gives us. We can always buy false eyelids, false teeth, false makeup. I saw a man not too long ago who was displeased with the shape of his nose. And the man told him, I got the right thing for you. So he purchased a false nose. Some people are dissatisfied with the shape that the Lord has given them. This phony world has fixed that also. Stop by to tell you, when it comes to the light, the result is we have more divorce cases, more broken homes, more alcoholics and more dope addicts in the world now than we've ever had before. Because when people start pulling back the phony aspect of us and looking into our real lives, many times we find a great deal of disappointment. And I stop by to tell you the old people had what it takes. They had the real thing, for they had Jesus in their heart. Isn't that right? So socially, we have failed in society because we have taken Jesus out of the whole business and gone into a false world. And then educationally, the world has said she has the real thing. There was a time when our school systems were not like they are now. We had to walk 4 and 5 miles to a one-room schoolhouse with one teacher there. And this was for a 4 and a 5 month term. Teachers were not required to attend college to be eligible to teach. And there were no scholarships inducing youngsters to study. Today, our present school systems are saying we have the real thing now. We have buses to transport the children, and therefore we have a big bus problem now. When I was a boy, we didn't have a bus problem, we had walking problems. Now the school systems are saying we have a teacher for every class. College degrees are now required of those that teach. Scholarships and fellowships are granted that may encourage people to participate. But they had enough sense to speak to you. When they met you, a lot of us do not know how to congregate a sentence nor a verb. And we do not have enough sense to speak to one another. We have more ignorance in the world today than we ever had before. Because people live in them and watch out the window and see what time you leave home and come out with something. Isn't that right? One another. Isn't that right? I stopped by to tell you the real thing again, and that is Jesus in our hearts yesterday. And then not only that, but religiously, like when all we knew to do was to sing, pray, preach, and give. Is that right? From that kind of background, we received our greatest hymns of today. Today, we boast about Sunday school, Baptist training unions, and other organized religious schools. But with all of these things, we have more sin in the world today than we've ever had before. Isn't that right? Look like to me with all of this that we have, we ought to be able to cut. So religiously, I believe that the world needs to back up and get that something that the old folk used to have. Isn't that right? You see, the world is looking for something that is truthful. Isn't that right? It's hard to go downtown and buy foods that are pure. Isn't that right? Because we're living in an artificial age. Isn't that right? It's hard, you see, to get pure butter on the market. But a long time ago, all you had to do was just churn. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Is that right? It's difficult to get pure flavor. It's that we need in this modern age that are pure. And our children come up being fed artificial food. Isn't that right? And sometimes I believe that's the reason they act so phony. Because they are fed off artificial food. And then when they grow up, all they know is to be what they are not. Isn't that right? But I believe we as Christians, we as children of God, need to back up and get that realness back into our heart. You see, the world is looking for something that is real and truthful. We as Christians have the answer. Jesus said in John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Not only that, but he said in John 8:32, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. You see, anybody, anything that is real, hold out. Is that right? And in case you are worried about Jesus changing on you, Hebrews 13:8 says that Jesus Christ is same yesterday and today. Is that right? You see, there are some real things about some of us, but everything about Jesus is real. Isn't that right? It's real that Jesus met two sisters, Mary and Martha, who told him that their brother Lazarus was dead. It's real that a woman said, if I could touch the hem of his garment, I know that I'll be made whole. It's real, I tell you. It's real that a man was lame for 30 long years. And Jesus told him to pick up his bed and start walking. That's real. Is that right? It's real now that Jesus raised Jairus' daughter. It's real. Is that right? It's real now that Jesus took water and made wine. Isn't that right? Now, not only do I have to look in the Bible days to find out that Jesus is real, and some real things, but I can look back at my own life and find out that Jesus is real. It's real now that Jesus will take nobody and make somebody. Is that right? It's real that Jesus will take nothing and make something. I know that. It's real now that Jesus will take whatever gift you have, if you please, and multiply. Is that right? It's real that Jesus will feed the hungry, because he took 2 fishes and 5 barley loaves and fed a multitude. It's real today that Jesus will make the enemies your footstool. I know he'll do that. It's real now that Jesus will be a friend when you need a friend. Isn't that right? But you see, all we need to do is back up and put Jesus back in our heart. Isn't that right? It's real now that Jesus will come to your rescue, because I've already tried. Isn't that right? You know, a lot of us, the Lord has been good to us. You see, a lot of us, the Lord has pushed aside and opened closed doors for us. And soon as we got on the high mountain, we took the Lord out of our lives. For many of us, we use the Lord as a spare tire. Long as everything is going all right, long as I'm able to see where my next meal is coming from, long as I'm able to pay my house rent, Lord, I don't need it. But soon as old man sickness knocks on our door, we reach back for the spare tire. Isn't that right? But I believe now that we ought to look back and count our blessings. And I believe now that we ought to look back and see how good that God has been to us. Is that right? You see, when some of us was back in East Texas, back in Louisiana, back in Mississippi, back on the farm, we were very loyal to the Lord. Is that right? But one day the Lord stopped by and decided to deliver us. Is that right? And since we have been in the bright lights, we have taken Jesus out of our hearts. Is that right? And I'm moving on here to a close here today. But I would like to let my mind go back on a little story that I heard. And that was a little boy who had never ridden a train before. And one morning early, he got up and went down to the train station. Oh, Lord, he did not have any money in his pocket, but he went down to the train station. And he stepped on board, and the train began to move on. And it wasn't very long before the conductor came by and began asking for tickets. Well, the little boy stood there and said, Mr. Conductor, I don't have any money in my pocket. And I don't have a ticket in my hand. And the conductor said, we're going to have to stop this train and put this boy off. And they did. The train didn't go too very far before it stalled on the track. And they called every engineer in that area. Oh, Lord, but the train would not move. And there was an old lady sitting on the left-hand side. You know, it's always somebody on hand. She began to call on the conductor and said, Mr. Conductor, I have a suggestion. She said, why don't you try reverse gear and try backing up? And the man tried backing up, and the train began to back on up. Oh, Lord. But when he got where the little boy was, the train thing stopped again. The conductor looked at that old lady and said, "Old lady, do you have another suggestion?" She said, "Yes, sir. Why don't you look outside and put that little boy back home?" Oh, Lord. He put the little boy back on. It wasn't very long before the train began to move on forward. Yes, my Lord, I'm closing today, but a lot of us, when we were back in the country, we had Jesus in our heart. Yeah, we've taken Jesus out of our heart, and we have stolen. We cannot move forward anymore. I tell you what you better do. You better back up. Yeah, you better back up and put Jesus back into your heart. You better back up and get the real thing. Yes, my Lord. Yes, my Lord. I'm so glad. 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 A long time ago, I backed up. Yeah, I put Jesus in my heart. And oh, ever since that day, he's been walking with me. He's been talking with me. Oh, the reason somebody hasn't backed up, you need to wait on him. Are you waiting on him? Are you waiting on him? And I wait on him. 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 Wait on him. Wait on him. Wait on him. Call on him. Do you ever call him? Jesus, 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 in the midnight hour. Jesus, and I, Jesus, and I, Jesus, and I, Jesus, and I, Jesus, and Jesus. Yes, sir. If there's anybody in the building, if you know that you've been born again, I want to see your hand. If you remember the day that you find the real thing, if you remember the day that you were born again, I'm going to call a few days. If I call your day, I want you to stand on your feet. Somebody found him. Somebody found him. One Monday. Somebody found him. Somebody found him. One Tuesday. Somebody found him. Somebody found him. One Wednesday. Oh, somebody found him. One Friday. Sunday morning, I found Listen if you please. It's real. It's real. Oh, I know. It's real. Praise God. My doubts are settled, and I know it's real. The doors of the church open. It's real. It's real. Oh, I know. It's real. Praise God. Praise God. Now, wait just a minute. You know, as I close today, I cannot put all of my trust in my brother, because you see, my brother doesn't have control over his life. So therefore it creates a certain amount of doubt. I cannot put all of my trust in my mother, and God knows I love her. But you see, mother does not have control over her life, and therefore it creates a certain amount of doubt. And I cannot put all of my trust in Reverend Robinson, because he might get sick on me. He might die on me. So it creates a certain amount of doubt. But let me tell you one thing. Since I met Jesus, all of my doubts, all of my doubts,